his fault.
It doesn't count as a prediction when it's on the screen.
Oh,
Jason.
actually, I was looking at you.
I'm not sure I fall for that one. Lee Sin is going to be the second ban for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Nunu, as we said, actually banned out by Alternate this time around. Thresh taken away from J-Ree, and they're not going to let Twisted Fate go over to Bjergsen. However, that leaves Elise open, who both top laners in these two teams can play. They've left Jace open, though, with that.
Okay, so we're going to see where that Jace is going to go. Not sure if that will actually be middle on White Knight or even top lane on Kerp. Obviously, he can play pretty much anything, but I'm most surprised to not see more bans necessarily target at Bjergsen. But like just how we just mentioned, since, you know, NiP now has these threats with Freeze, with Extinct, Bjergsen's not the only one, you can't really just ban them all out. So Bjergsen's going to be able to play exactly what he wants to.
So let's see then. Right now you see the Alternate. Don't think they were maybe expecting that Jace to be coming through after the ban, so they are still hovering over him. Kerp, who came out and said he doesn't really like playing Shen that much, but he is brilliant at him, so sometimes force that way. Won't have to do it today, and it will be Jace and the Nami locked in here for J-Ree.
Okay, so the Nami, strong support, played quite a bit nowadays. Didn't have the greatest statistics going into, you know, about 30% win rate, but it's been seeming to get better over time, and people are getting used to it a little bit more. VCU obviously did play that yesterday. Actually had some amazing Aqua Prisons that really stepped the fight. Not to mention the tidal waves out of him really helped out. So it's going to be a really good disengage if you do need it. I'm curious to see what they're actually going to pair that up with bot lane. But with NiP, with the our next two picks, I wouldn't be surprised to see Maluna go for his jungler. Typically get him something he enjoys, because when he plays something that he is really good at and you get him something early on, he can actually do very well in terms of carrying the game out.
If that's not an Elise jungle, which of course it could be. The beauty of Elise, I suppose, that we have seen it played in the mid lane, in the top lane, and the jungle as well. So it could be leaving Alternate guessing somewhat. Looks like they're going to lock in their duo here, though, of Vayne and Sona. Okay,
so what's happening right now is that Alternate, just with the Jace pick alone, you kind of get the whole mindset of a poke comp. So you need a really hard engage on NiP's side. So in the next two picks, I'm pretty sure you're going to go for something along the lines of that. The Sona, always a standard support. I mean, always a go-to thing with that crescendo. So you're going to have that available. The Sona Vayne combo, depending on what AD carries picked up here, might be in a 2v1 lane just to guarantee that easy farm, but we're going to have to see what Cretan actually goes with, because he does have his Ezreal available.
Does have that Ezreal available to him right now. Alternate hovering over a possible Jarvan pickup here for Aranea. Of course, has been playing the likes of Hecarim as well. We've seen him play in the jungle. He himself played Elise, actually, just last week as well. So, see if they lock in this Jarvan. I see Jarvan just an all-round strong support, highly recommended from the best jungles in the world. In the end, he'll probably just switch to Hecarim, as I, completely predicted.
No, I was thinking about that too. Like the Jarvan, we saw him play yesterday. Didn't work out that well versus Gambit. And I don't know, to me, it's not necessarily his type of jungler. He likes to be really aggressive, really get in there. Yeah. With Hecarim, he's really faster on the map. He really likes to actually gank from the backside of a turret as well. But he doesn't have his 3000 ELO Orianna ultimate to follow up, which is a slight problem. And we're looking at an Annie middle. Huh. What's that look for?
Did you expect that? Because I didn't.
No, of course not. I mean, I've seen a lot of Annie support lately, but we already have that Sona picked up, so it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen with that, because if you land that, flash ultimate onto 3, 4, even 5 people of alternate, you can blow them up with the crescendo right behind that, and of course the Vayne damage as well. So that is a really interesting pickup. I don't think Annie's been played just yet in the LCS.
No, certainly not going to be in that, not going to be seen in that mid roll up until now. And there was word on the street that a lot of people were practicing Annie. My information that I was practicing Annie as a support, so did not expect that to be coming out there. Right now, Alternate hovering over Lissandra, which of course was a big champion for Pharrell Lord in previous weeks. He's not here today though, so it's going to be White Knight taking hold of that. I mean, he could even be Kerp, I suppose, with Lissandra in the top lane with Jace in the middle.
I was going to say, I mean, if he's going to play Lissandra or White Knight, he's got some big shoes to fill, because Pharrell Lord blew us all away in week 1 with his Lissandra. So yeah, it looks like he actually will be on it here. With the Hecarim though, you don't really have, I mean, the only thing you really have to back you up is the tidal wave and Lissandra going in as well. So it doesn't necessarily fit with the whole Orianna combo they like to run. But with the poke they have out of Jace, with the poke they have out of Creaton and Ezreal, they actually do have a relatively strong team, but they're up against the CC master that is Annie, I'm going to call her, because she has, obviously, every 4 spells can use a stun, but you can obviously do an AoE stun as well. So
Annie versus Lissandra, talk us through this matchup, because it's not something that we see ever really.
Right.
I think literally we've never seen Annie versus Lissandra in a middle lane. Certainly not here, at least. And I'm sure it's happened somewhere along the lines. And actually, we're seeing a last-minute switch from Alternate as we switch away from the champion select there. It's going to be Kurt playing Lissandra and the Jace going over to White Knight.
I was gonna say I have a perfect example of how that works, but I guess Jace works as well in terms of this. So Annie has the longest auto attack range out of any AP carry, and as we know, Lissandra's a mid-range mage. That's hard to say. Mid-range mage. So Annie would obviously be able to auto attack constantly against Lissandra if they were lane together. But against Jace, generally the same thing. Jace has a relatively short attack range, so Annie can harass quite a bit with that. And if he ever does go in to get his combo, you can stun him up and then do a lot of damage to him. So overall, it should work out well for Bjergsen as long as he can dodge those shock blasts.
Well, we're going to find out here in just a second. There's Maluno on your screen, one of the 3 new men here in for Ninjas in Pyjamas. No stranger to the stage here in Cologne, of course, was in the spring split with Dragonborns for most of that time in there as well. So, what do we reckon here? Into the game, Ninjas in Pyjamas, who have won 3 games in a row right now, going up against an Alternate who, they're not losing a lot. That's the fact from them here. Yes, Gambit have been pretty much the thorn in their sides right now, but they're doing well against everyone else.
Yeah, they've lost, I believe, 2 times to Gambit, once to SK, and it's just really about their aggression. Most teams have been able to really figure it out, like Gambit has, but I don't know, NiP, like, if they can get past the early game in terms of they get out of it ahead, I think they really can take Alternate as the game goes on. We're only going to find out. I mean, they've had only 2 weeks together with this roster. They've been looking stronger and stronger every week, and with this Annie pick, it can really catch Alternate off guard.
And there is that Doran's Blade start that, you were kind of hinting at there with the fact that she does have that long range on her attack, which, is going to add into the harass that she can actually be putting down here right at the start of things.
Okay, so he actually does have 8-5 armor pen as well, so he's looking to really auto-attack harass quite a bit against White Knight, and you mix it in with stuns. I mean, he's going to have a really tough time dealing with this lane, so Arnea might have to camp it out quite a bit. And, I mean, not to harp on the guy too much, but White Knight did get pretty much destroyed by Alex yesterday, and he really has to prove something here if he wants to get Alternate that W.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. He has a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Forellenlord Lord has been magnificent for Alternate. He's not here for whatever reason. Alternate decided not to disclose that here this weekend. And that means that White Knight coming in, a lot of pressure on him and the rest of Alternate to be, picking up those results while Forellenlord Lord isn't here. But we'll have to see. Looks like we're going to have a fairly passive start to this one. Lots of wards put down. You can see the junglers both by the blue camp for Alternate, the red camp for Ninjas in Pyjamas. So no early craziness. Yeah,
it looks like both teams are going to go for that top lane gank pretty much at that level 3 point around 3 minutes. And I was just taking a look at items really quickly because you mentioned the Doran's Blade. That caught me off guard. And then what White Knight's going. So he has a Crystalline Flask, a Health Pot, and a Ward. So he knows with Annie in middle that the stun is always there, and you have to do something about that. But not going for a tier right away is going to put you pretty far behind unless you pretty much just bypass it and don't go for it in the end.
Well, certainly interesting setups here. Annie really quite intrigued to see what we're going to get out of Bjergsen when it comes to playing this Annie. But it's going to be pretty much a straight-up game here. 2v2 in that bottom lane. As you see, Freeze already going aggressive there in towards Creatine at level 1.
And I mean, Vayne always has a really hard time in lane. Like I was saying before, I expected the 2v1 just to make it pretty easy for Freeze to farm up. And luckily for him, against a Nami, he has the ability to really tumble out of any Aqua Prison. So ideally, he should never be hit by those, but obviously it can catch you off guard. And when it does, you saw right there, it did a lot of damage. Even though he didn't get hit by it, just the harass out of Alternate really took him down about half health.
See the junglers, Maluno on his blue buff, Aranea just finishing off the red, and it looks like both going to be visiting this top lane here. Now, Aranea, if he goes through the tri-bush, he's going to get spotted by a ward, so Extinct knows that coming. He's got Maluno there for backup. This could be a very interesting start as the Cocoon lands. They're going to go in towards Aranea. He's going to charge away, but he gets knocked up, and there's the first blood coming down for Maluno. He loses the double buffs, and that's a disastrous start for Alternate.
That was fantastic, Maluno. I mean, we were watching it. We knew they'd go up there towards the top side, and he was just there to counter perfectly the great ward placement. And the thing is, he went in through lane because they knew that ward was down, so he was able to get around it, pretty much bait Arnea in. Doesn't have ghosts, doesn't have double buffs, and as a jungler, you never want to die when you have double buffs on you. First of all, obviously, you lose yours, you give it to the enemy person, but now you're behind in terms of in jungle overall.
things calm down, here we are going to see Extinct actually going in, lands a cocoon, and that was a very clean-cut deal. A lot of minion damage coming onto Extinct. The Ignite was used as well from Kurt, but Extinct making it 2-0, and this top lane very explosive up until now.
This is such a strong start for NiP. We talked about how if they have a strong early game, if they can come out early ahead of early game, then pretty much the synergy that they might be lacking wouldn't really matter too much. But we do have in the middle lane RNA trying to come around onto Bjergsen here, but Bjergsen hasn't been touched just yet, and he has a huge minion wave and a stun available. And Maluno's there to pretty much counter it. He's there every time.
Yeah, White Knight actually getting stunned up here. I'm not sure if they'll be able to actually get in onto him. A lot of damage coming down, though, from Bjergsen in the end. And White Knight with just 1 bar of health needs to be a little bit careful because Bjergsen does have that flash available. And you know what? Annie with a flash is always dangerous.
Oh, yes. Everyone knows. Oh, gosh. He never misses those ultimates. But I'm really happy with Maluno, actually. He's been doing a great job this game so far. He never gets enough credit when he's actually honestly a top jungler in Europe. I mean, obviously he's an LCS, but he really is. And he's been proving it this game quite well, always being there to counter Aranea.
Oh, I see Bjergsen having to push Aranea out here as well. He's already got rid of White Knight. Aranea comes off to cover, and then he finds himself going low for that Annie in that middle lane. Bottom lane here, which has been fairly quiet up until now. However, Creaton is starting to build himself a lead. But basically, it's Freezer's job right now to just try and keep up with the CS, because he's going to be getting a lot stronger as he works forward.
Exactly, and considering that top has gotten a kill and an assist, and middle, Bjergsen has a CS lead, you know that Maluno's going to be camping this bottom lane now. He's going to try to get Freeze caught up, try to get him a little bit of an early advantage, because as you can see, he started off a door and shield. He did that yesterday. We don't really see very many AD carries do that, but yeah. Maluno already going to be visiting down towards this bottom side. It won't be spotted by Ward till he actually goes into River here. He might be able to make something happen.
Well, right now, Alternate are going to be chased down. Creaton actually is going to Arcane Shift away, but will they be able to get J-Re off from this one? There's the Aqua Prison down. That will lock Maluno up, and they're not able to quite chase it down. Anything they can do to give Vayne a little bit of time on her own in this lane is definitely a bonus for NiP.
Yeah, it really is, and he's going to start catch up in CS quite a bit. And I'm taking a look at Aranea, and to me, his playstyle is all about control and being the one to make plays happen, but he's been shut down very well by Maluno 2 times now. He actually won't get shut down this time. Might be able to get in on Annie, but as you see the top lane, Extinct taking Kurt very low.
Gonna have to repel away to the minions there, though. Just got himself a little bit too close to that turret. And you know, the thing about Lissandra is that she can put down good damage in there. Right now, Alternate seemingly have decided, okay, it's time to get rid of the spider in the top lane.
He doesn't have a ward either. He doesn't have flash available. He's going to have to back away here. He might get caught. And Arnaz, he's in position. So is White Knight. And if he lands a stun, he's dead.
Here we go then. There goes Extinct trying to get away. He's going to get locked up from this one. He's going to repel, but he's going to come down right back on top of them. Kurt will pick up the kill. Much needed for Alternate's top lane.
That's very well needed. I like how you pointed out, because Extinct was already so far ahead, having the kill and the assist over Kurt. He needs some sort of help here, just like maybe Freeze needs in the bottom lane. But Bjergsen, in the meantime, going to be pushing middle and trying to deny a little bit of stuff away from White Knight. And we kind of pointed him out that he has to be the guy to step up for the team to really make some stuff happen, because Frelmord is always like a big playmaker for their team on his Lissandra, just in terms of his champion pool. And with the Jace, you can really do that. If you start to get fed early on, you become a giant nuisance.
I see Bjergsen not at all worried. Aranea and White Knight coming over the top of Ward. Bjergsen just stays there and throws his spells at him. Just not worried whatsoever about that one. As the Shock Blast actually comes over towards Bjergsen's position there. He was maybe looking to get a sneaky steal off on this red buff. As it happens, though, White Knight that.
Okay, so Joe, we have Bjergsen at level 6 right now. And I really feel bad for the camera guys, because if he goes in, it's going to be quick, because he's going to try to full combo White Knight down. And right now, I think with the Ignite up, he has the damage to do it. He has a Doran's Ring as well, and he's going to be backing away. He's going to probably try to combo him down on this next return to lane. But actually, no, he's sticking around. He knows his White Knight's a little bit low here, and this action, it's going to come really fast if it does go down.
Well, keep our eyes peeled on that one. He's built that stun. You can see him moving off towards White Knight's position here. And White Knight knows, that's the thing. You can see that stun there for Annie, and that just makes you so much more cautious that you can be bullied a lot easier, actually, just from that spinning death around Annie.
And the thing is, with a Doran's Blade, he doesn't have a hard time at all CSing. It's just like a Kennen in the top lane. You can really CS quite well. You have the range for it, so he can pretty much just stand between White Knight and the minions. He can dodge the Shock Blast and just prevent him from getting any CS, which right now it's a 14 CS difference.
Right now, face check from Extinct, actually. He's going to have to try and repel away onto his minions. Doesn't quite have that flash available. It's literally coming up in a second off. 5, maybe. But, you know, he's safe with that repel in there to keep him good. Maluno actually visiting his top lane as well, will be spotted by a ward there.
And the thing is, you notice that RNA, he's been top lane 3 times now. They've been keeping the pressure there. They've been making it so RNA has to gank this top lane over and over, and because of that, Freeze isn't being hindered in the bottom lane.
Freeze not being in, he's only 4 CS behind right now. If you look at the top lane, Xtinct, despite all that constant pressure onto him, is ahead by 16 CS. There's a pink ward actually put down, and that's to try and allow Aranea to get in. His White Knight going to get stunned up underneath the turret. Bjergsen not worried about that whatsoever. Maluno's actually waiting off to the side here. And as you said, just the constant threat of Annie jumping on your face and popping that entire combo on you is making White Knight struggle.
It is, and if he wasn't Jace right now, he'd have even a harder time, because luckily for him, he has Shock Blast, the ability to farm under turret, as we're actually seeing Aranea walk by, and he's actually going in on Bjergsen.
Oh, they're going to knock Bjergsen back into the turret. There comes Tibbers, but Aranea getting in, and Aranea will pick that one up. Bjergsen did get the kill onto White Knight in the end, but that was a move that I think they needed to make there to try and put Bjergsen back a little.
That was really ballsy. You gotta respect that move, just jumping in behind him, knocking him into the turret, but unluckily for him, he didn't get the kill. Now we have Maluno going head-to-head against Aranea, but I don't think he can actually stop him here.
No, this is just going to be a damage exchange of either of them walking away. It's Aranea in the end that decides to leave from that. This bottom lane starting to hot up now, as we start seeing a few more items coming down. The Cutlass picked up towards that Blade of the Ruin King for the Ezreal. On the other side, Vamp Scepter, Doran's Blade added into that Doran's Shield, and the Boots of Speed for Freeze, who's 5 CS ahead now.
And I think when he gets his Cutlass is where we're going to start to see a lot of action really going down, because Vayne, that's all you really need. I mean, all you could really need is a Blade of the Ruin King. You can pretty much 1v1 anyone. But once he gets that, he can slow him down, get that a little bit of extra damage down, and land the Condemn, which is the key thing. He can dodge the Aug Prison pretty easily. If you have the Crescendo coming out Deficio timed perfectly, it should be a pretty easy kill, as we do see Kurt going on to Xtinct.
He's missed the Cocoon here as well. Kurt going very, very low from this one as the repel comes down from Xtinct. He's not quite able to finish off the White Knight coming up, picking up another kill for Alternate. We're tied on kills now.
And this was after such a strong start by NiP. They're up 2-0, and now Alternate's been able to pick up pretty much 3 kills straight, minus the one Bjergsen got middle. And honestly, it was so needed. White Knight, he realizes he can't pretty much beat Bjergsen 1v1. So he's just roaming around, picking up kills. It's allowing Kerp to get fed. He's going to start catch up in CS hopefully very soon. And having your mid and top lane pretty strong is going to make it so NiP's going to have a tough time fighting you.
Right now, it looks like they've decided that Lissandre coming into middle, as we are going to see Tibbers come down onto Aranea. Well, he's a horse, and he's not that scared of bears, so just runs off.
And luckily for him, Bjergsen wasn't level 11, though. He would have been dead, definitely, right there. As you do see, I believe Bjergsen is actually almost there. He's about almost halfway. But in the meantime, White Knight's going to look to take this first turret here, getting a little bit of extra gold. And now, this allows Kerp to roam around on top of this. And having Lissandre roaming around, which we've seen Freljord do, we've seen Soaz do as well, we've seen Darren even do, it's so deadly that you have to really ward up and kind of prevent him from getting fed, because he's down quite a bit in CS. But now the turret down, I mean, he can make that up.
So let's have a look at some items here now that we're calming down a little bit. 10 CS lead for Freeze as well, by the way. He's just going to go home and spend a good chunk of cash that he's got in there. So picking up Madbroth's Razors.
Nope, he sold it.
And he sold it again and picked up Cutlass.
Ooh, so that was a misbuy right there. he was trying to go for
It was good timing that we were just looking at that.
I know,
as he
right?
backed away.
But yeah, so he went for the Cutlass. He's going to have that in lane, the extra lifesteal, not to mention the slow and the extra damage. But for me, the big thing is, look at Annie. Has the Hextech Gunblade, Revolver Gunblade, same thing. Hextech Revolver, so it looks like he's going for the Spirit of the Ancient Golem, not Ancient Golem, Spectral Wraith. It's one of those, there's like 3 of them, it's pretty hard. So he's going to get the extra spell vamp, but the cooldown reduction is what's really about, because if his ultimate's not up, NiP's not looking for an engage.
Right now, Freeze has come back into lane. Berserker Greaves a finish for him as well. Blue buff is going to go over on towards White Knight. We saw once again Maluno trying to get involved from that one, as Kurt and Xtinct going to go head-to-head with this one again. That's the beauty under the tower there. Xtinct, he can just repel away. Kurt actually used his ultimate there.
Did he fully dodge the ulti there?
I believe so.
Unless Kurt used it on himself. I want to go back and look at that, but that was quick reaction times out of Xtinct if that actually was the case. And right now, I mean, Alternate, they're starting to, I don't want to say they're starting to take the game, but NiP's slowly letting this slip away with just allowing them to roam, with Xtinct dying now 2 times on the top side.
Yeah.
So we're like both
Just
watching to see if he actually dodged it, and he did.
He did dodge it. He dodged the ultimate out of Lissandre in that top lane, so fantastic reactions from Xtinct. And he knows that Kerp's ulti is down right now, which is always a possibility for him to pounce. RNA are actually waiting here in the wings. There's no turret behind Extinct. And actually has his flash available as there should he need it.
And the thing is, Extinct's got to be, he's got to be feeling like Bjergsen felt in the spring split, where he's always camped now at this point. He needs to, I mean, he's not doing bad, considering he's been ganked 3-4 times now. He's still up 5 CS. And we see Bjergsen getting his own blue eventually here. And now he is a level 11, so White Knight, he picked up Merc Treads because he needed that magic resist. He needed to get out of the stuns that Annie can put out. And I think Bjergsen might have the damage finally. Freeze trying to go in.
Oh, there's a flash away from the crescendo, though. Ninjas in Pyjamas really trying to force that one. Tidal Wave did come out from Jerry as well, and not quite able to get in there. I think Creaton would have been dead if he'd not used that flash.
Definitely, easily. Freeze would have taken him down, and he would have been very close to having his Blade of the Rune King on top of that. But looking at the junglers, because they've kind of calmed down a little bit. Like, since the beginning, the actions kind of calmed down for them. We did obviously see RNA middle a little bit, then top lane, but Extinct kind of sniffed that one out. As he's heading out down bottom here, he has his ultimate available, he has Ghost up, and they know Defisu doesn't have his crescendo, so they don't have their out button, and we might see this dive happen.
Jerry, on the other hand, doesn't have that tidal wave either, so they're going to be relying on Aranea to basically get that crowd control down and get straight in on top of them with a fear, but we'll see if they can actually pull that one off. Freeze has his barrier and his flash available to him in this one as he knocks Creaton away once again. Freezing up this lane, no pun intended, but they're holding that one back so that Aranea can't even get into position for that, and right now NiP have started Dragon even.
And Kerp is still top lane, he's trying to head down right here, and this Dragon might be dead before he even gets there. They have all 5 members, if Ultimate tries to go in on this, they might die, but RNA, we've seen him snipe so many Dragon steals away, not gonna happen this time, and that is the first Dragon going over to NiP, giving them a little bit of extra gold.
Yeah, Maluno actually smiting that one down there in the end, and that puts them 500 gold in the lead. That's how close this game is right now. If we look at the CS between Elise and Lissandra, 108 to 106, there's only 100, in fact less than 100 gold difference between those two. And he's still out farming Jace, 148 to 135, as we are going to see Kurt coming in here. Bjergsen in a lot of trouble. Actually will try and get himself away from that when he stuns him under the turret. Both White Knight and Kurt going very, very low, but Bjergsen died in the end.
Oh, that was so close. The damage was almost there, and more importantly, Kurt got the blue, but now we see Arne going in bottom on Deficio.
Yeah, they are going to get in onto Deficio. He's feared up and knocked back from this one. This is not something he's escaping from. Creaton will be given that kill. Nicely done. Maluno coming down to cover.
And just like that, they lost Dragon, but Ultimate picking up 2 kills right after that. It's a good job of them to make something happen out of losing the Dragon away, but now Extinct really pushing middle here, and it's very dangerous. Kurt with this blue, since he's going to be one of their big major engages along with Aranea. White Knight, his did just run out, but he built his mirror mana to Extinct going in.
Yeah, going in on towards Kerpia. Kerpia's gonna die as the repel comes over, but there's no wraiths there. He's actually gone backwards onto the minions here. Nicely done by Extinct, but can he actually escape? Nami, meanwhile, has died in the bottom lane. Can Aranea lock down Extinct here? As White Knight gonna go diving over with the hammer. Creaton coming around the side as well. There is Creaton to pick it up. And he gets in position to pick up his second kill in just a couple of minutes here. As I said, Jerry did die in that bottom lane in the process as well, though. And
he gave the kill over to Vayne, but still picking up a couple of kills. Killing Extinct again, who, with the snowball that he possibly could have had right off the bat, it could have been a lot worse for Ultimate, but he did go for that penetration build, so I believe he might eventually go for an Abyssal Scepter, just to prevent the damage off of Kerp, just to help out Bjergsen as well. We're going to fight as time goes on, and now Creaton, he has a blue buff.
Yeah, blue buff for this Ezreal, who's going to be spamming a hell of a lot more now. Down a lot of good damage. Actually, is still behind Vayne technically on CS. It's definitely not by a long way, but Freeze keeping up on that front is definitely a big plus point for NiP. And I'm imagining that he's actually got quite a bit of gold to go home with and spend right now. Actually sat on around about 2,000, so he will be headed home here shortly. And that Blade of the Rune King is imminent. And because Freeze, actually, we already see Bjergsen getting gank middle. Yeah, Kurt coming in. They got no ulti onto him, but do they have the damage to finish Bjergsen off? He's just going to put some damage back in. Ulti came out of Maluno there, which was actually out of range to knock everyone back. Bjergsen survives, but only just.
And I was trying to say right before that fight broke out was that because Freeze hasn't really been killed bottom just yet, it's all about kind of protecting him in these team fights. So Bjergsen, I wonder if he's going to be either on the initiate, trying to make the fight happen for them, or also on the protection of Freeze with the stun to really keep him off of him. But we're going to see when these fights break out, and to be honest, when the fights do break out, they're like the 5-on-5 team fights, they're really going to be explosive.
Yeah, with a bear on top of all of them. I think that's going to
A
be
birdie bear.
The difference and the danger for Alternate in this one. Right now, wave pushed out. It looks like Xtinct is going to make his way towards this mid lane again. White Knight did see that one coming in now, so he's able to actually get himself in position and make sure that there's no excessive push coming in on towards that turret. Right now, we're moving to a somewhat quieter period, but again, we see that Alternate, the kills that they've picked up are generally where there's a lot of action happening around the map at once, which is true Alternate style.
Yeah, it's kind of like control chaos, but them always being in the right position at the right time. NiP hasn't been able to pick up a turret just yet, which is a little bit interesting, but it looks like they might start to make a move soon because, you know, the Dragon went down. They got it fine. They lost 2 members, but with the next one coming up, I think we're going to see a major engage happen around there. And also on Creatine's side, he goes a little bit of a modified blue build, or a blue build Ezra, but without the tier. He's going for like the Blade of the Rune King, the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, then I believe the Iceborne Gauntlets right after.
On that Blade of the Rune King as well during those fights. Let's see if Xtinct can actually hold off here. Sorry, of course, is already down, so that's going to get pushed through. Bottom lane, now kills here and there, not masses of action in that bottom side. If you look at the CS, it's still bang on even. They're still keeping up with each other on that front. Right now, Bjergsen is still ahead, but that gap's slightly shrinking here. It's just 16 the difference between Annie and Jace.
Yeah, it looks like NiP might get their first turret here, and I was about to say that. Every lane's been roaming around except the bottom lane for NiP. They've been just sticking there, just trying to hold on to that, trying to stay in lane as long as possible so Freeze can get even stronger, which 20 minutes in, having 170 CS is pretty damn good.
Oh, right now, this top turret's actually taking a lot of damage from Xtinct. We are seeing Kurt coming up to try and stop that from actually going down, and he will be able to get into position fast enough to prevent that. As the Coon comes out, Kurt nicely dodging that one. Totally had it expected and was ready to dodge out the way and make sure that he'd stay safe from that. Here we see Bjergsen and Maluno, though, both coming up through the jungle. They're going to go over a ward, so Alternate are going to spot this.
They've been over multiple wards, so it looks like White Knight's already heading towards the top side here. Either they're going to give away this turret or they're going to go for a major fight here. And with who's up there and with how strong they are, I think NiP might have this just in terms of their CC.
Well, how are they going to fight underneath the turret? That's the real question for this one. I mean, Baronea starts it off there, getting the ulti out onto Bjergsen. That's going to delay things quite a lot, and they might be able to out-damage him before those big stuns do come around. In the end, though, Alternate decided probably not the wisest idea to be having a fight now.
I really wonder how quick Bjergsen is on Annie, because, you know, we talked about Lissandra back in week 1, like, how do you counter that? And we had a couple of answers in terms of, you know, you just outplay in terms of positioning or use, like, Nami and use the bubble right when he gets up. But if he can stun Kurt before he gets anything out, they can just blow him up before he does anything. They can lock him down and condemn him, hit him with the cocoon, and he'll pretty much do nothing the entire fight. He does have the Athenes and Holy Grail, though, to kind of sustain against the damage that Bjergsen and Xtinct has. Maybe even a Abyssal Scepter might help out on top of that.
Right now, that Dragon is live once again, and Alternate are in position for it this time. Of course, last one did go to Ninjas in Pyjamas as Aranea does spot Maluno, comes charging out of the Dragon Pit, and Aranea actually now a level above Maluno, and that's quite interesting considering how in that early game we saw a lot more time spent up in those lanes by Aranea whilst Maluno was farming his way through.
Yeah, he's been doing a good job keeping up with that. It's because he's been around the map quite a bit, really picking up the kills, soaking up the experience. But look how many pink wards Alternate has put down. It shows they really want to get this Dragon. 3 pink wards invested into this here. And if NiP can steal it away, that'd be a huge win for them.
Well, they are watching, but in the end, you see them just starting to back away from that one. And that will be Dragon number 2 going over to Alternate. And that leaves us at just a 300 gold difference. Not even, it's ticking over more like 200 as we are going to see Lissandra coming in. They're going to try and lock down Freeze from this one. The damage absolutely massive. Jerry actually picking up the kill there in the end. And that may just be a second turret of the game for Alternate.
Yeah, it looks like it should be. Definitely. Bjergsen's actually going to face check against White Knight.
He's going to put all the damage down there. Is the flash away in the end from White Knight. Aranea coming around the side of Bjergsen. Not quite got the damage to burst down that JC yet. The Hex Drinker, of course, going to be helping out with that as well.
He's going for a defensive build here as now Maluno's being chased down. And we'll get slowed here. Actually, we'll get locked up.
He's going to get locked up. Creatine's in there. There's a crescendo using them. Tidal Wave going to come rocking through. There's a True Shot Barrage dodged by Maluno, but they're going to finish him off. It's Kurt that gets that one in the end. Uses Flash to secure it, and now Deficio in all kinds of trouble as well. He's locked up under the tower. Creatine comes back in for the finisher, and that's 2 fantastic kills for Alternate.
And Alternate is just kind of outplaying them in terms of positioning. The ward coverage that they have, even though it's just so little, they've been able to pick up those kills left and right. I believe that was 3 overall as Freeze did die earlier in the fight. And this is kind of a snowball effect for Alternate. This is what they thrive on. This is what they love to have happen. And with the items they're starting to pick up, it's starting to get very one-sided.
Well, I think there's a little way to go before we can say it's one-sided at this point. I mean, you know, it may well be headed that way, but we shouldn't count the fact out that, you know, Freeze is still racking up the CS. The problem is he's fallen behind in kills now. So, you know, Creatine is going to be beastlier than him when it comes to getting in these fights. Not to mention that mobility as well to really dodge what Ninjas in Pyjamas can throw at him. Obviously, we're tied up in turrets at this point. Gold is around about a 1,200 difference.
And one thing that NiP is kind of working against is time. Right now, RNA is already heading for his Aegis, and when he gets the Runic Bulwark, the tankiness of their entire team will make it so Bjergsen can't one-shot anyone. All you can do is lock that down with the CC, but then it's pretty much just solo or single target damage for the rest of NiP off of that. So if Ultra can survive the burst out of Bjergsen, which in about a couple of minutes they'll be able to easily, then NiP is going to really have a tough time team fighting where they kind of should win just because of Annie alone.
That's Creatine trying to bully Freeze away and succeeds in that one. Freeze backing completely off with Sona. And right now, Jerry and Creatine, for what feels like at least the first time in the game, leaving that bottom lane and actually headed up towards the middle of the map. So looks like they want to be taking a possible second turret in this, a possible turret in the mid lane, a third turret overall.
They are grouping up for Creatine, actually heading up right now from bottom. The turret already about 75% health. And Bjergsen and Freeze are nowhere near it to pretty much keep it alive, so it looks like they should be able to get this turret. Though if Bjergsen, if he hurries a little bit faster with that ultimate available, with the flash available, he might be able to stop this.
Well, here we go. Shock Blast coming through the acceleration gate. Will they even decide to go under the tower on him here? As we are going to see Maluno going on towards RNA. There's a crescendo that gets 2 people. Jerry and RNA have been melted there by Tibbers as Bjergsen brings it down. Kirk going to use the ultimate on himself for the protection. It won't get him away though, and there's a double kill for Bjergsen. 3 kills overall coming down for NiP for just the 1.
And look at that damage coming out. That's a perfect engagement. Maluno sacrificing himself for that 3-for-1, just like he said. And now NiP, they're going to be pushing here a little bit. Looks like they're going to, I think, back away from that turret as Bjergsen's heading back home. Level 16 now. He's going to have his Zhonya's done. He has his level 3 ultimate. And you saw the CC right there. Jerry could not get his ultimate off because he just got locked down constantly.
And that's Freeze hammering away on that turret. Shock Blast from White Knight clearing out the minions, but they're going to try and tank through that one. Not quite got the damage, or the health, I should really say, to be taking another turret hit or 2 from that one. And in the end, they back off. White Knight doing a good job of making sure that inner turret doesn't go down.
We do see the Zonia's Hourglass picked up for Bjergsen. You'll see Leandri's Torment picked up for Kerp. So he's looking to do a lot of damage to the high health targets, which right now with Extinct, with the Rylai's, with Maluno just naturally building tanky, he's going to do a lot of extra damage. And Bjergsen, he can afford to flash in. I'm actually expecting, oh, he already has it, Distortion Boots. So he has the quicker flash cooldown to get in there and really make the fights happen, even though obviously it was Maluno last time. And so far, NiP, just like you said, they're not out of it just yet. The item snowball that Alternate was starting to have kind of just got completely reversed right there.
Big fight, or what could turn out to be a big fight for Ninjas in Pyjamas in the grand scheme of how this game's going to go down. You see Jace, now with those Shock Blasts, not masses of damage at this point, but certainly he's going to be a threat when it comes to them sieging up these towers. And that one in the middle lane is definitely not super healthy for NiP right now. The Zhonya's of Bjergsen, though, that should help them when it comes to surviving most of that. And of course, Bjergsen has a double buff now, thanks to that kill earlier on towards Aranea. So, right now, NiP holding this bottom side of the map, and for me it looked like they were almost waiting for a dragon, which is up in just 1 minute time, so they're a little bit off from that kind of timing. We do see that Deficio does have an Oracle on right now, needs to be careful here. He's actually going to get engaged upon, but in the mid lane they're fighting there as well. White Knight is going to take down Deficio. Where's the focus coming in? White Knight is at the back of them, and Maluno's going very low. He will die. Freeze actually picking up a kill there in the process, and Ninjas in Pyjamas trying desperately to get away. There's the stun coming out onto Kurt from Bjergsen, but can he escape this one? Creatine is still in there. The Aqua Prison not quite enough, but this should be a turret for Alternate.
Just as quick as we had NiP coming out ahead in a fight, now Alternate's doing themselves a 1-for-2 in the end for them. A turret on top of that. They might even be able to push this turret down with Creatine, with Kerp, with Arna, and obviously JB there. And that'll be big for them. 2 middle turrets. in one go, gives you so much control around the map that they haven't necessarily had ever since, you know, about 10-15 minutes in.
And if they decide to tank it, which they're not really going to need to here, to be honest, the minions lasting quite long in that one, they will be able to pick it up, and that leaves them in perfect timing for the Dragon to come in. Are they going to risk this one? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, they're out. A lot of necessary ultimates, the Nami Wave and with Kerp's ultimate. They really need those to try to kill someone at this point, but I don't really think Kerp has the damage anymore to one-shot anyone on NiP. You do see the Runic Bulwark picked up now for RNA, so it's going to mitigate a lot of damage. Bjergsen was so close to being able to completely one combo down White Knight right there, and now they're going to head towards Dragon here. Crescendo, I don't think it'll be up in time, but it looks like they'll be able to take the Dragon before Alternate even gets there.
Well, that is going to fall far too quickly for Alternate to do anything about. And you know, those Dragon here, Dragon there, pickups for Ninjas in Pyjamas, something that's keeping them in this game at this point. Actually, both junglers here only got boots of speed at this point, which, you know, RNA is someone who likes to move around the map quickly, who likes to be up in your face, which kind of surprises me that he's not gone for a second tier of boot.
He typically likes boots of swiftness, but there's no real slows on this team. Only person that can put out a slow is really Maluna, or unless you want to use the Blade of the Rune King as another slow. To see Kerp just harass him a little bit. So the Merc Treads, though, I mean, you'd be surprised not to see that necessarily, but then again, you can't stun him when he's ulting in on you. You can only do that right after he's done with that, and NiP doesn't want to waste their CC on him.
So that was the inner turret going down in that top lane. So an inner turret left in the bottom lane that's pretty much for the taking at this point for Alternate. However, they are up on the Baron side of the map right now. They've got complete vision control of it. Ninjas in Pyjamas are just trying to force the waves back as the True Shot Barrage is going to make that bottom lane. I don't think it actually connected onto the next wave, funnily enough. I was going to say that's going to slow the push back on that side of the map. Right now, White Knight just getting himself the blue. Ninjas in Pyjamas are up in the Alternate jungle here. They need to be careful. I mean, they've got a team that can come at you over walls pretty easily, actually.
Yes, that's very true. And it's all about the ward control, the ward placement. If you can get the right wards down, like which NiP is currently doing around Baron, they want to be able to have the vision advantage, which is always going to be so key in these fights. If you get blindsided by a giant barrier, you're not really going to survive that fight. So Alternate, they're starting to gear up for it, so is NiP. The thing is, just like you mentioned, Alternate, they're pushing the lanes in. They're constantly forcing NiP to back off and sit around their base, and that gives them full control around the map.
There is the Claw of Doom, as I think it should have been really called. But, you know, it's always a scary spell, in my opinion. It comes at you so slowly, and you never quite know if Lissandra's going to follow that one through and then just absolutely destroy you with that ultimate. In the end, didn't happen, and Alternate are just quite happy to push it out because they're looking at inhibitor turret number 3 here in the bottom lane.
That puts him at 62 in turrets, also puts him up about 3.7 thousand gold. Also, Creatine, who we always praised in week 1 and 2 as having like the highest KD, I believe was 27 around there at the time. He hasn't died just yet this game, so he's been doing fairly well, even though he didn't do amazingly, didn't do bad, but he also didn't pull away from Freeze as far as he would have liked to.
Yeah, and I think Freeze was the only man that really topped him as well in the KDA, but that's because he was only there for 1 week, and he featured 2 games that Ninjas in Pyjamas won, of course. So this would be nice for Creatine if things continue to go this way for Alternate.
I like that ward placement, by the way, because RNA, he's sticking around that wolf camp. He wants to kind of engage from over that wall, just like you mentioned before, and with the ward placement Diffuser's putting out, it's really preventing that from happening.
Well, that top lane has started to push out once again, which Alternate are not going to allow. Kerp's gone up there. He's going to work his way through those minions and make sure that they don't have too much of a breather from this one, but they've managed to catch Creatine out. There comes Tibbers. Have they got the damage to finish off? Yes, they will. And it's a welcome kill for Freeze as well there to pick it up.
And Bjergsen actually flashed for that too. He wanted to get Creatine down because they know if he's gone, the only guy that wasn't killed just yet, they can start to push, and they're going to get this turret. They might even have the potential to back away and get Baron, or try to push for an inhibitor turret, or just back away in general. Either one of those 3.
Or do a dance. No, no one did that. So yeah, they are going to be backing off from this one once again, and that's because this bottom lane as well is right for pushing up right now. They've got the outer turret still available for the taking. Bjergsen wants to make sure that this top lane doesn't get pushed too far in, and that they're at danger of losing then an inhibitor turret at some point. This is also a good time for Diffusio, with the help of Maluno here as kind of a bodyguard, I guess we can say, to start clearing out a bit of that Baron vision that Alternate have.
And they're definitely going to take it away, and because...
Or you could just miss it.
That too. Who is it? No, never mind. I was gonna say, who is it North America LCS that always misses wards? I can't remember on the top of my head, but Bjergsen, since he did commit that flash, it's already about halfway off of cooldown. So is his Timbers. They're pretty much, well, I was about to say synced, but obviously on different timers. His Bear's gonna be up very soon, and this might actually mean that NiP's gonna go for an engage here. If they can just get the waves pushed out, that's what's been really key from Ultimate. They're constantly keeping that force, so NiP has to make the decision of, do we try to push and take an inhibitor turret, or do we try to take Baron, or do we get all this farm that we currently have at our base?
Well, they've done a good job here, at least, of clearing out the limited number of wards that NiP really put down when they made their trip around the Baron, and this could lure a Ninjas in Pyjamas counter-attack towards this Baron, trying to regain that control of vision. Alternate coming around the side, pretty much position given away there by Jace as he shot blast straight through the wall. That's going to force NiP to back off completely.
That was a very scary moment. NiP was grouped up to a perfect ultimate coming out of Hecarim if they wanted, but now they're just rushing at middle. They know the Ultimate's probably going to try to go for Baron here, so they're going to trade an inhibitor for a Baron.
Yeah, Alternate are committed to this one. They're going to stay in for this. And actually, NiP have decided to come back. White Knight started to recall there. They realize now that NiP are coming at them. Are they going to keep going with the Baron? It's only at half HP. So if they keep it at least tagged here in case NiP go away, as Kerp is going to dive into the middle of them, uses the ultimate on himself. The Nami wave will come across, but Vayne at the back is doing great work for them at this point. Freeze forced to flash away. And that's just a 1-for-0 right now. A lot of action, but not a lot of kills. And Alternate, are they going to stick around for Baron? I think Creaton's saying we could possibly do it here, while the rest of the team saying no, that's not worth the risk now. Yeah,
consider you're up against a double AP composition when you're in the Baron pit, pretty much getting amplified magic damage against you. If that anti-Tibbers comes down, you're going to get blown up. So they do back away from that, but they do still get a kill off it. So they got something for nothing. They also took down the Oracle that Deficio had, which is a big deal. So now they're going to have definite control, as we see Kurt trying to go on Bjergsen, and you just see Bjergsen doesn't really do too much damage right now because he went for more of like a tanky build, more of a sustained build to stay alive. He doesn't have that burst to even kill Kurt.
Yeah, and that's one man you'd probably expect him to be killing. He's the one that's got to be able to burst people down. We've seen Infinity Edge being picked up now, by the way, for Vayne, along with that Phantom Dancer and Blade of the Ruined King. That's a very, very scary freeze. We saw the damage he did in that last fight. Didn't quite have the protection for him to stick around. Alternate going to be picking up another Dragon here, though.
I believe that's their second or third of the game. They've gotten quite a bit, so they're really starting to pull ahead in gold. 4,000 now. And I don't know, I'm trying to think if I'm convinced by the Annie so far. I mean, I understand the build he had to go because he needs to get a little tanky, he cannot afford to get bursted down. And they want to be really aggressive for these fights. As Freeze, like you mentioned before, he's sitting in the back, he's doing a lot of damage right now. And if he keeps farming up, which with the Eye Edge done, if he gets a Last Whisper, he's going to hurt so bad that Alternate kind of has to rush for him, and then you'll have the protection of NiP.
Well, that's the problem, that Alternate have got a lot of ways to get in without taking damage while it happens. You know, Kerp, you can't really do much about him while he's traveling. You can't do much about Aranea when he's pushing in there as well. So we'll see if they're able to keep Freeze protected at the back. And after all, it's Vayne who's not got the biggest of attack ranges anyway. Ninjas in Pyjamas here are going to be starting off that Baron. Something tells me they're not going to stick around to finish it, though, with Alternate in there, and just a single ward over the back scares them off.
Looks like they kind of want to bait them in a little bit, but they don't have an Oracle, so they're not 100% sure about the vision that Alternate currently has around this Baron pit, so they need to be very careful here, as they do just back away instead, and NiP grouped up middle. They do get the Cocoon on a Kerr, but are they going to commit to it? No, just going to back away. And you even see Extinct didn't do that much damage to Kerp, so he got to that point where he's relatively tanky up, and the big thing is he now has a Zhonya, so he was already going in, using the ultimate on himself to stay alive, but now he can afford to use it on maybe Freeze to lock him down, and then he can just Zhonyas to use it as an escape.
Let's have a look at some of the other big points of this game. I mean, 13 to 10 in kills, pretty close on that from 6-3 in turrets, which is obviously one thing that's actually making it hard for Ninjas in Pyjamas right now. They've finally got those minion waves in the top and bottom lane actually pushed over the halfway point of the map, which is something that they've just not had the luxury of for the last 20 minutes, I want to say, almost, from this one. I don't think it's quite that long, but it certainly feels like that. And Alternate were controlling them with that. They were controlling the jungle, they were controlling the complete vision of the map. And since they've been pushed out, NiP themselves have felt a little bit more comfortable to leave, you know, the edges of their base.
And both teams are still, even though having the controller on the map, are still really hesitant to engage on top of each other. And like I was mentioning before, NiP was working against time for the Runic Bulwark to be available, but now we have the Mikhail's Crucible coming in for Jerry, so when that's done, he's going to be able to heal someone and get him out of stun, but Maluna, he's going to face check and get blown up.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage. This crescendo was actually a good crescendo, but Arane will ulti into the back. Kirk goes in there as well. Are they going to be able to finish off one? Freeze going very low. He gets finished off by White Knight. That's a double kill for him. He's taking damage from the backside. He's somehow still alive here as the Zhonya's get popped by Bjergsen. He dies straight away after that one, and that will be a 3 for 2, but it's not over yet. Deficio goes down, and with this Ezreal up right now, they may be able to get an ace from this one. Critton going to chase, actually gets caught up in the cocoon, but he's got the blue buff. He's got the cooldowns there on that arcane shift. He's going to tank up the turret. A repel last second, he's still alive here, finally gets taken down. That was a lot of tower damage coming onto Critton from that, and not quite the last tick of Ignite. That would have been pretty fantastic if he'd have got Critton down after all that.
And in the end, it was a 2 for 5 for Alternate when they got a little bit of a clunky engage. Maluna just kind of face checked that bush. He stayed alive for a long time, but they weren't able to capitalize on the position. Alternate was the ones being able to do that, and they're able to come out ahead in that fight. You saw actually Bjergsen, he picked off 2 in that fight. He's getting very strong. Like he has that death cap done now. He has quite a bit of damage, but now you have a Banshee's Veil picked up on Critton. You have a GA being built up for White Knight. And Kerp already had a tough time of being killed anyways since he has that Zhonya's available, and the Mikhail Crucible is now done. So it's going to be very hard for them to burst someone down because that heal is really strong, not to mention you won't be able to lock them down since they can get out of any stuns or CC.
Right now, Alternate are trying to seize an opportunity and take themselves a Baron. And I don't think the NiP are going to be able to come into this one. Freeze is in the bottom lane trying to push that one out, and this will be Alternate literally sauntering on up and picking up that Baron for free.
And now with this, are they going to go for a straight push on the middle here? Because they do have their ultimates available, the ones they need. And they should be able to actually win on a fight. Not to mention Bjergsen, Deficio out of position here. Arne is trying to come in. He might try to make something happen. Kerp is falling behind him. But luckily for NiP, they're just fast enough to escape because that would have been bad. That probably would have been game if they did get caught and die.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Kind of lost Bjergsen and Deficio. I mean, just the stuns and out of the crescendo and out of Tibbers and what have you from Bjergsen and Deficio could probably just lose them the game if they're not actually there when it comes to a team fight. Actually, Alternate did decide to back away from this one a little bit. Let's spend that last bit of money and then maybe head in for what could be final fight. I mean, they've got a team who I think they're quite happy really to get in underneath the towers as well.
Yeah, I mean, because they have a lot of tankiness. They have a lot of outs on top of it with the Nami ultimate to really escape. Not to mention White Knight is going to be backing right now. He's going to have his GA, so this to me signals we're going to go for the push here because they can dive a turret easily with this Baron buff, with the tankiness, and even if they do die, they're going to get back up and fight again. And NiP, they have to be very careful. They're going to have to pretty much engage at the perfect moment if they want to be able to turn this around, or Alternate is going to just close this game out.
Yeah, and the thing is, if Freeze is not protected either, I mean, they've still got good amounts of damage there from Bjergsen coming in. Of course, Elise doing that percentage health damage as well is always a big thing to have on your side, but it really is it's bad if Freeze goes down in this fight. We see how much damage he's now got. He's now picked up a GA, which is certainly going to help with that one. Perfect timing.
Yeah, I was trying to think back to that last fight we saw around Blue Buff, and he was doing a lot of damage, but because Maluna got caught, because they were able to push Bjergsen out, they just all jumped on top of him, and he just died in a couple of seconds. But the GA definitely, it should help out quite a bit. Also, just gonna pick up a couple of buffs here. And it looks like they're gonna work on this bottom lane. Or even go back to middle, it just depends where White Knight's really going. And they do have the Oracle. Deficio doesn't really have that many wards out in their own jungle, but they know they're heading bottom here, and this is gonna be a big defend.
Let's see if they can actually hold on to this one. That minion wave gonna be pushed up. Alternate waiting on the outskirts of the steps. Critton, don't forget, has that Banshee's Veil in, so that could be
that poke.
That could prove to be a big thing for them here. I mean, if he dodges one stun coming out, if that's a crescendo that doesn't land onto him because of that Banshee's Veil, that is a big thing. And as you said, the poke coming out of Jace, coming out of Ezreal, well, coming out of Lissandra even is absolutely massive. We are going to see that turret force down. Maluna actually is going to go in onto this one. In the end, they back away. True Shot Barrage will catch Bjergsen. Alternate do take the turret, and it looks like they're going to keep going for this one. The poke continues to follow through on that backside. The inhibitor itself already down to half HP. It's Critton that really needs to get in there and get those final chunks down, and there will be the first inhibitor of the game going down to Alternate.
And the problem NiP is kind of having right there is that they can't get rid of the Banshee's Veil on Critton. Only really 2 people can do that. Deficio, but he has to get really close for that to happen with his Q. Or Extinct. He's going to have to use his Cocoon on him, or his W is spiraling to really get the damage in. And either way, Critton can just Arcane Shift away. So getting that Banshee's Veil down so Bjergsen can get that 5-man stun is going to be very difficult. And we're going to see if they're going to be able to push this second inhibitor down, because now it's pretty much do or die time. NiP is going to have to engage here. They can't afford to let a second inhibitor drop, because then Ultimate will have full control of the map. And then obviously the next Baron that will be up, obviously 3-4 minutes. We do see Bjergsen flash in.
Oh, he's completely missed it though there, and he's going to have to pop his Zhonya's from this one. The wave comes through. Bjergsen gets back up, but he goes straight back down. Kurt will use the Zhonya's in there as well. Look at the damage onto White Knight as the crescendo comes out. Misses pretty much everyone. Free's going to have his GA pop. Creatine in the middle of them doing masses of damage on this as Elise comes down from the rappel. Extinct just about alive there on that backside, but Creatine is not done just yet. He's got the double buff and the Baron buff on. Here he goes in. Deficio pretty much gave himself up there for the kill, and that's going to be another turret and the inhibitor here. And to be honest, look at those death timers. Alternate may choose to do it right here.
Extinct's still up though. He just has his home guard boots. He's able to come in, and you saw White Knight right there. The perfect flash of him getting right back on top of Freeze when his GA popped. I think if he didn't do that, NiP might have won that fight just because Freeze was doing so much damage and no one could really get to him, but he committed to it, was able to get it. And Ultimate, with that Baron buff, get a lot done. 2 inhibitors, 2 inhibitor turrets, and he'll be able to back with quite a bit of gold.
And they're going to be taking a Dragon here, 45 minutes almost into the game. And they'll add on to that 10,000 gold lead that they have already amassed here. Now, they've not really done anything spectacular to amass that 10,000 gold here. It was kind of a by-the-book play from Alternate up until this point. You know, push out all the lanes, get the turrets one by one, finally push in towards that bottom inhibitor. Okay, they've had to fight NiP, which was pretty close stuff in that middle lane, but this is really by-the-book stuff right now from Alternate.
Yeah, and not to mention the Dragons on top of that. They've got multiple ones of those.
Dragon.
Like, they've been just, controlling objectives as much as possible. And in that last fight, Alternate did a phenomenal job of dodging the Bjergsen flash stun. I believe only RNA got hit there. Creator was able to escape that because of the Banshee's Veil, but because of Ultimate didn't hit, they were free to fight that. And I really wonder if it did hit, what would have happened to Alternate?
And Deficio
missed the crescendo.
Missed the crescendo completely, and he used it very, very late on in the fight there. I'm not sure if it was actually on cooldown, and that's why it took him so long, but I don't believe that it was on cooldown with that one. But yeah, definitely not in the right place, and came a little bit too late into that fight maybe. Could have swung it, I think. If that crescendo have hit 2 of them, maybe, that could have been a very different fight by the end. But that's all ifs and buts. One thing that we could say for sure now is that those super minions starting to stream in down the middle and the bottom lanes, which is going to make it naturally easier for Alternate to get in on this top turret.
Thing is, we've only saw 2 new items picked up for Alternate when they went back. We have Malma Mortius over on the Chase, and we have the Void Staff on Lissandra, so it's still going to be a very close fight. However, Freeze doesn't have the luxury of his GA available anymore, neither does White Knight, so that's going to change how the fight really goes down here. But if it does, it's going to be RNA just ulting him. They can just delay, though, because they have super minions pushing from the middle, pushing from the bottom, and NiP, they're going to have to make a move soon.
And the fact is that Alternate's poke here is going to be hard to deal with. They've got the heals out of Deficio, but I'm not sure that's going to really be enough for them to be able to hold up to the siege that Alternate are putting in there right now. You can see the minion waves not even getting past the steps at this point. Creatine going in there for a shot here and there, and in the end they just basically wedge themselves straight in, using that poke nicely to their advantage. And they lost the Nexus turret. The super minions, as we were talking about earlier, had already worked themselves into the base, and right now Alternate are closing in around the Nexus.
We're going to see this final fight come out of NiP very soon. Alternate's just waiting. They're letting the turrets get very low. They're letting the minions amass here. If NiP doesn't engage within the next couple of seconds, it's just going to be a loss for them. Coming back from 3 inhibitors being down is already difficult, but here's the engage.
Here we go, Bjergsen getting in. They've managed to lock White Knight down. There comes the crescendo. The Nami tidal wave comes out as well. White Knight going low will finally be finished off. It's 1-for-1 right now. Kurt going to use the Zhonya's. Here comes Creatine from that top side. He's taken down the AD carry. He's on Extinct now. He will use the Zhonya's of his own, and it will be a kill for Creatine in the end. He's going to get another one here on towards Bjergsen. 3 kills for him to end that one. Alternate going to take down the Nexus turret. The Nexus itself will fall, and Alternate will get back to winning ways here and stop that winning streak that Ninjas in Pyjamas have put up in their last 3 victories. And I think a big one here for Alternate, not just because of how they did it, but for the fact that White Knight subbing in here for Ellen Lord. That's a valuable win for them.
His confidence has to be boosted after what happened against Gambit. I mean, 7-4-11, he was up against Annie, which is already difficult. And not to mention, he stayed alive so long in those fights. NiP threw everything they could at him, and they weren't able to get him down till the very end. And also coming out with that much-needed victory, and just like you mentioned, NiP, their win streak now gone, but still give them credit. With a new roster, 3 new members coming in, taking Altitude that close, it's very well done.
Yeah, I think you can't take anything away from them. I mean, 4 games played up until this point with that new roster, 3 of them won. I mean, that's a fantastic record with a brand new lineup coming in. And for the fact is, they've not had that much time to practice with those new 3 guys in there as well. I have to give a special mention at the end of this one to Creaton. 11-1-10 he finished there with that Ezreal. We saw, you know, we've seen time and time again from all the way back to the spring split qualifiers, which Alternate obviously didn't quite pass through, but that Ezreal has always been a beast in the hands of Creaton.
Yeah, you always wonder, why did he switch away from it? Because he's been playing a lot of Vayne now, he's been playing some Draven, but he just could not be caught, and I get that's what Ezreal is. He's very slippery, and with the Banshee's Veil against this combo, he definitely could not be locked down. You saw it in the fights. He wasn't even touched in the last fight, and he was able to escape only with 1 death and bring his KD up a little bit more.
So what do we think to the Annie then? Because that's the first time we've seen Annie here in the mid lane in the European LCS. Are we going to be seeing more of her?
Honestly, she brings a lot to the table. I think it's very composition-based, though, because unfortunately for Bjergsen, he wasn't able to kill White Knight in lane. And you kind of would expect that a little bit more, obviously, since you have so many stuns, you have the burst damage. But it wasn't bad, but just because Alternate got the Runic Bulwark, they got the Banshee's Veil, they had the GAs, they had the Zhonya's, they had so many outs that Annie couldn't really be effective.
Well, certainly a fantastic performance there from Alternate. And as we said, you know, they lost this game to Gambit, which I think was a real thorn in their side, as we said before. It really brings them down, even though they know that Gambit are possibly the other team in the league right now that they really need to concentrate on beating. It was a stomp game for them, you know. They got absolutely mullered yesterday by Gambit. So that's a big confidence booster overall for Alternate as they try and charge their way even further in that first place. Yeah,
it actually puts them 1 more game ahead because they were tied in wins but had 1 less loss. So they're going to be a little bit further ahead of Gambit, which going into these weeks when they're becoming more and more important for them to get into the playoffs, they're going to take every win they can get. And if they keep playing like that, it was a little bit shaky in the beginning. It really was. I think we can both agree to that, but they definitely hammered it home as the game went on.
Yeah, shaky in the beginning, but a very strong finish there coming out by Alternate. NiP, on the other hand, as you said, nothing to be ashamed of here. A loss to the league leaders, the first in 4 games, technically, with a new team coming in with not so much practice with them. They've got everything to look forward to, I think, in the season coming up.
And yeah, I mean, like we said before in the pre-match, they're only getting better every week. And I think they probably looked at that game and when they talk about it, and noticed a little bit of a couple of holes they had where the roaming really shut them down early on from White Knight and RNA grouping up. They had Kurt visit middle lane a couple of times, really shut Bjergsen down, and maybe they're going to be, you know, warding up a little bit more. But they have a lot to learn from that game, and they can only get better from here.
Well, we heard a little bit from RNA in the preview saying he always has to take his belt off if Alternate to actually win games. We're going to go over to Shox, who's sitting with RNA, who's hopefully put his belt back on.
Thank you very much. I'm here at RNA. Congratulations on that victory. Talk us through the game a little bit. First off, bad start to 0 in the top lane. Extinct giving a hard time to Lysandra.
Well, actually, it was some kind of fail because level 1, Curb, misclick on Fairy Charm, so he could not buy health potions. And he went to lane without health potion. He told me, we have to push the lane. And I told him, like, I think 3 times, Maluna is going to be here. Maluna is going to counter gank. If they catch me, I'm dead. And we were like, no, you have to push. And I'm like, I'm a horse. I don't have flash. I don't have any kind of gap closer or like, escapability. So if you hit me the stun, I'm dead. But he was like, no, we have to push. We have to push. We tried. I failed. I died. And then it was like, he got dive as well because he wanted to stand to push the lane. And then it was like really rough start for us. But after that, we tried to like focus on tunneling because we know Extin is really aggressive player. He's a really good top laner right now because he was a mid laner. So still he's good top laner. But we know he lack on warding in that lane. So we try to overgang the lane and we get like a lot of kills on that lane.
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, the big thing in that game was the Annie pick from Bjergsen. He had been practicing it all week, but to pull it out in this matchup, but eventually he couldn't really burst any of you guys down immediately.
Well, I think it was we went for a lot of MR. Even Ezreal had at the end of the game Bale. I went for a straight Bulwark, and everyone has a lot of MR. And their combo was like Sona hitting the ultimate at least more than 2 guys, and Annie following up with like Flash ultimate. But still, then they have like Vayne and Elise. Vayne and Elise are 2 mono targets. So I think if instead of Elise or Vayne, they go for a combo or a wombo combo AD or top lane, it will be much better. But still, their combo was fine, but they somehow missed that ultimates, that both ultimates.
Yes, and good victory here today because yesterday losing against Gavin, for the 2nd time. how much of a factor was the fact that White Knight is new on this stage and you had him only for this week?
I think White Knight played with us around 20 scrims. We played in 3 days. And the results were really good. I mean, it wasn't the problem of White Knight. Pretty much the game against Gambit, I lost it alone. I did bad planning. We let them a 1v2 with Sen, who we are famous to do that. We are famous to do a 1v2 with Sen because we know Sen, even though you get not a lot of farm, is still like super useful for the team. So we let them Darian, the best champion of Darian, who is right now Shen, and we let them 1v2. So it was a really bad plan for me, and then I tried to go bottom lane. I saw Genji in a bad position. I tried to kill. I died there, and then it was Kerb who died there, and it was game over already. Like, they got completely control of bottom lane, of Drake, and every single tower. Just that amount of play me, and they outbrain us as well.
But overnight, you got back in the game. You brought your lucky charm, and you won. So congratulations, Aranea.
Thank you very much.
Evil Geniuses and SK Gaming are two teams that haven't found a consistent form in the summer split yet. Both suffer